some people have given me a lot of credit for risk management and talking about my involvement with that. And I hope I can kind of get through this because I wrote some things down I've never shared with you before. And my passion around risk management, saying it's the greatest thing, the number one value add we have at Federated, it really has little to do with Federated. That may sound weird. It has little to do with even what our loss ratio is. But I grew up with a father who was a safety nut. We grew up on a farm. When I was 10 years old in 1963, he started me driving tractor, plowing and cutting hay. Well, if you know anything about cutting hay back in the old days, they got sickle bars and power takeoff shafts and things like that. And he made sure I never got off that tractor without that tractor being turned off. He made sure I never got on that tractor or pulled the power takeoff lever to start the power takeoff on anything unless the guards were on the power takeoff. Right? And then the next year, when I was 11 years old, I was very mature then, he started letting me drive a tractor with a corn picker, two-row corn picker. That was awesome. I think I'm losing my hearing today because it was so noisy, but back then they didn't have big shellers and all those kinds of things. They had two-row corn pickers that had rolls, and the rolls would go like this, and the corn goes through, and it sucks that stalk down, and it pops the ear off, and then it goes back into the wagon, right? Well, a lot of times those things would get caught, and they'd get clogged up. And I saw a lot of farmers in Bourbon, Indiana that didn't have an arm or didn't have a leg because they'd be out there kicking those things and trying to get those clogs through. But that never happened to my dad, and it never happened to me because I was trained properly by somebody who really, really, really believed in risk management. That was 1964. Later in 1964, my dad's best friend and a good friend of mine's father was killed working for a farm equipment business when a portable feed mixer he was working on underneath it fell on him and killed him. In 1967, I was riding home from a football game where we got our brains beat out by the Bremen Lions, who always beat us. And I was in the front seat of the players' bus driving home, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night on a two-lane highway, and a car came flying around us. Sparks fly, when it hits the ground, and we were making kind of, that guy's driving like crazy, About 7 or 8 minutes later, our bus stopped because there was an accident in front of us, and the players' equipment truck in front of us had gotten there before us. And the guy came running back and said, "Hey, we need your first aid equipment. There's a horrible accident here. There's a man and a woman that are seriously injured, and we're not even sure the woman is alive." And then I saw my grandfather get out of the car. So I knew it was my grandma and grandpa that had been hit by this driver that we had seen 7 minutes earlier, so pass us going crazy. It turns out he and his buddies were all drunk, and they had been arrested for drunk driving twice before, were out on whatever they were out on. And my grandfather passed away from injuries about 10 days later. That was 1967. In 1977, through 1980, I went to work for a farm equipment dealership in my little town, the same farm equipment dealership where my friend's father was killed 13 years earlier. And for those 3 years that I was there, the business owner and I would have, as you know, multiple conversations because that was the business he wanted me to buy and I wanted to buy. And then later, in 1980, he passed away. So that didn't work out. But during those years, at least twice or three times a year, we'd have serious conversations, and he would tell me about that accident. He took full responsibility because, you see, he sold that piece of equipment. The farmer needed it right away, and he was looking for somebody to go out and get the wheels underneath that piece of equipment so it could be taken to the farmer's home and we could get it delivered. It was a two-man job, but Lowell was the guy's name, said, I'll take care of it, I'll do it. And proper, jacks and whatever it wasn't used. And Mr. Wagner, the business owner, told me that 2 or 3 times a year, and every single time he told me, he wept. He never, ever got over that. So when I talk about risk management, I talk about it from recollections of mine long before there was anything to do with federated insurance, long before I knew about combined ratios, long before I knew about improvements in loss ratios and distracted driving videos and safe lifting videos and whatever that might be. Mine just came from experience. And I think that's a good thing for me. And I wanted to share it with you because that's the way business owners that we're calling on have to think. That's how they have to think. Because they too, if they have those kinds of accidents, whether it's driving or something else, they too will never get over that. That'll always, always haunt them. You know what? The employees never get over that either as they continue to work there. Now, driving is our focus, obviously, necessarily, because of the loss ratio, because of the claims we're having, because of client success. Well, he's exactly right. The two words on our mission statement say client success. That's what it's all about. That's what risk management has to be about, is client success. We can't help them be successful if their employees are dead. We can't help them be successful if their employees are seriously injured. I don't want to turn this meeting into a downer, but I do want you to feel the passion like you've never felt it before. Because we have an opportunity like no other insurance company in the United States of America to make a humongous, humongous difference